Namaste. Another beautiful moment to read a chapter of Swami Anand Arun's book Lone Seeker, Many Masters. This time it's the 8th chapter and it is about Swami Ramtirtha. So sit down or lie down comfortably and listen to my voice like you listen to the water or to a waterfall or to the birds singing outside. And then the presence of Swami Ramtirtha might reach you through the presence of my voice. Yeah, Swami Ramtirtha. Swami Ramtirtha is a relatively obscure name in the Indian spiritual sky. While his contemporaries Swami Vivekananda and Sri Aurobindo rose to great fame, Swami Ramtirtha, the ecstatic mystic of peerless intelligence, is unknown to many. There is the picture of Swami Ramtirtha. Only two enlightened masters have had their birthday Enlightenment Day and their Nahaparinirvana Day, the day when enlightened people leave the body, on the same date. One was Gautam Buddha. He was born in Baisak Purnima, full moon of April, under a sal tree in Lumbini. He became enlightened at the age of 35 under a Bodhi tree on the bank of the Niranjana river at Bodh Gaya, which was also a Baisak Purnima. And his Mahaparinirvana happened at the age of 80 between two sal trees in Kushinagar on a Baisak Purnima. The only other enlightened master whose life spelled out similar mysterious events was Swami Ramtirtha. He was born on the day of Diwali, the Hindu festival of lights, at Gujranwala, which now falls in Pakistan, on October 22nd, 1873. He was enlightened on the Diwali of 1898 at a place called Brahmapuri, 8 kilometers north of Rishikesh, and he left his body at the age of 33 at the confluence of the Ganga and Vilganga rivers at a place called Teri in Garhwal. That was also the day of Deepavali. Swami Ramtirtha is a relatively obscure name in the Indian spiritual sky. While his contemporaries Swami Vivekananda and Sri Aurobindo rose to great fame, Swami Ramtirtha, the ecstatic mystic of peerless intelligence, is unknown to many. Swami Ramtirtha was born into a very poor family. Poverty seems to be the age-old friend to the saintly and honest folks. Poverty stayed with him throughout his life. Like many saints, Ramtirtha showed spiritual signs from an early age. As a child, he was always attracted to the sound of sangha, conch shell, and to temples. As a toddler, he was pacified only by the sound of a sangha, or if he was taken to a temple. In school, Ramtirtha showed many signs of having the mind of a genius. He learned Farsi from a Muslim priest, Muhammad Ali Shah, in a very short time. His poor father wanted to offer the priest some money for teaching Farsi to Ramtirtha. Ramtirtha found out that the priest was in need of a buffalo. Ramtirtha's father had only one buffalo, but Ramtirtha persuaded him to give it to the priest. The priest was amazed by the child's generosity. Ramtirtha paid for his studies by giving tuition classes to his friends. There is an interesting anecdote about his MA examinations. In the mathematics test, the instruction was that the students could choose to answer 9 out of 13 questions asked. Ramtirtha answered all the questions and wrote a little note for the examiner. You can choose to examine the 9 answers that you prefer. He graduated from Punjab University with full marks in mathematics, becoming first in his department. Recognizing his talent, the government offered him a high post, but he declined as he did not like the servitude associated with being a government official. Rather, he preferred the position of professor at Lahore Christian College. He soon became famous as a mathematical genius, and mathematicians from all around India started sending complex problems to him, which he would solve with ease. Once he received an equation which was difficult for him as well. He tried hard but couldn't solve it. This gave him a lot of pain and humiliation, so one evening he brought a sword to his study and made a vow that if he couldn't solve the equation before dawn, he would cut his throat with it. He spent the entire night trying to solve the equation, but the solution seemed nowhere near. When the sun rose in the morning and the equation remained unsolved, Ramtirtha, true to his word, took the sword in his hand and was about to slash his throat. Right then he saw the solution written in golden letters on the dawn sky. Modern intellectuals find it difficult to believe in such events, but there are many such instances that have happened in the lives of many men and women of science. For example, the Nobel Prize-winning Danish physicist Niels Bohr tried hard to discover the structure of an atom, but only when he had given up in exhaustion did he see in his dream the structure of an atom dance in front of him. Later he figured out that that's what an atom actually looked like. Similarly, the great Indian mathematician Ramanuj was given the answers to his complex equations in his dreams. Even Einstein had a dream where he was flying at the speed of light and he saw the stars and galaxies change their shape. He said later that this dream was crucial in providing his theory of relativity. What parapsychologists say about such phenomenon is that when the conscious mind gives up on the problem, it finally gets a deep rest, and the unconscious mind then solves the problem mysteriously and projects the answers in various ways. There are countless such examples in the lives of people such as scientists, saints, writers, and artists. In 1902, Swami Vivekananda had returned to India from the United States after successfully having been the spokesperson of Hinduism there. Thus, he was very much respected in India and was being invited all over the country to give spiritual talks. It was Ramtirtha who organized Swami Vivekananda's talk in various cities and towns of Punjab. Ramtirtha was immensely impressed by Swami Vivekananda's grace and wisdom. He became inspired to live a life just like Swamiji. While saying goodbye to Swamiji at Lahore train station, Ramtirtha wanted to give his whole life to him. But since all he had was a pocket watch, he offered that to Swamiji. Swamiji received the gift graciously and then gave it back to him, saying, "Now think that the watch is with me, but on my other body. Never think that you are far away from me." The watch showed 1 o'clock. Showing Ramtirtha the time, Swami Vivekananda said, "Look, even this watch is saying that we are one, and this is the crux of the Vedanta philosophy. The person I was looking for to spread Vedanta around the world is you." Swamiji hugged Ramtirtha and added, "You will definitely be successful in spreading Vedanta around the world, as this is what God has planned for you." This emotional moment brought tears of love to the eyes of the two crusaders of Vedanta. Swami Ramtirtha was an ardent devotee of Krishna, and the devotion was showing its magical colors on his life. He would wander chanting the name of Krishna in the forest on the bank of the Ravi River, just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did a few hundred years ago. Ramtirtha would search for Krishna like his lovelorn gopi. One night he dreamt that Krishna was playing with him, and then he suddenly disappeared. Ramtirtha started searching for him in desperation, but couldn't find him anywhere. Feeling utterly lonely, he started to cry, but after a while he saw Krishna peeping at him from behind a door. Ramtirtha became mad at Krishna for playing around with him and pulled him by the ear and slapped him. He woke up from the dream in great pain and shock as he found out that he had slapped himself. His ear was also hurting. This dream made him realize that it is worthless to search for Krishna on the outside, and a great desire to search for God within himself aroused in him. Ramtirtha was very strongly attracted to the Ganga and the Himalayas. As soon as he had some leisure time, he would run to the serenity of the Ganga river. He traveled many times from the city of Haridwar to the source of the Ganga at Gomukh. He considered the Ganga his own mother, and he would pray to her for self-realization. One day he was meditating on her bank at Brahmapuri, a little above Rishikesh, and was aching for the experience of self-realization. Again he made a vow that if he is not self-realized within 24 hours, he will jump into the Ganga and take his life. The 24 hours ended and he was still not enlightened. As he had vowed, he jumped into the Ganga. In the beginning, the Ganga drowned her son, but when Ramtirtha became unconscious, she threw him onto a rock on the bank. When Ramtirtha regained consciousness, he had left unconsciousness forever. He was now a self-realized man. The effort of many lifetimes finally came to rest. Blissful and divinely content, he returned to Lahore to resume his work. Ramtirtha found it very difficult to work, however, as his life had completely changed since his experience at Brahmapuri. While teaching mathematics, he would prove the concepts of Vedanta using equations. He would prove the sutras of the Upanishads through mathematics. His colleagues from the Christian college did not like this. Every dawn he would sit in meditation. Sometimes he would reach a timeless trance state and would lose time consciousness, making him very late for his classes. On July 14, 19, Swami Ramtirtha's meditation only ended at 2 p.m. He then remembered that he had a very important mathematics class at 12, which he had missed. He ran to the college, and when he searched for his attendance registry, he found that his name had already been signed. When he inquired with the clerk, he answered perplexed, "You came here and you signed your name as soon as the college opened. You have also already taken your class." Ramtirtha was surprised and sat on a chair beside a clerk, trying to figure out a plausible explanation for the mysterious happening. He said to himself, "I know who did this. I can only be Krishna himself who would care to carry out such a stunt." He felt that because of his meditation to save face, Krishna himself had to come in disguise and conduct his class. He said to himself that he couldn't continue his job anymore. He sat there silently for a while and then asked the clerk for an empty page. He immediately wrote a letter of resignation and handed it to the clerk, telling him to give it to the principal. He then left the college without talking to anyone. The whole college was shocked to hear of Ramtirtha's resignation, and it became a topic of discussion. Not seeing any logical reason behind the event, the principal even went ahead and declared Ramtirtha mad. The famed poet Muhammad Iqbal, a colleague of Ramtirtha, was amongst those who defended him and said that if Ramtirtha is mad, then no sane man is left in the world. Ramtirtha, on the other hand, was getting ready to totally surrender his life to the will of God. The God that made my mother's breast full of milk before I was even born will definitely take care of me and my family, he thought. He then distributed all his belongings and prepared to leave for Rishikesh as a renunciate. This made his wife, Parvati Devi, cry in despair, and she pleaded with him to take her with him. Life in the Himalayas is very unpredictable. There is no certainty of lodging and food supply there. I am leaving totally surrendered to God, so you should take care of the children and go to your mother's place, he said to his wife. Parvati Devi didn't agree with her husband and reasoned, "If Ram could take Sita along with him to the forest, then why do you leave me here?" When Ramtirtha saw that Parvati Devi was adamant, he took her that he would only take her if she promised to fulfill 3 his demands. His first one was that she had to give away all her belongings other than the clothes she was wearing and come with him totally empty-handed. Secondly, she had to say loudly 3 times that her husband was dead and Ramtirtha is only a fellow traveler on the path of meditation. The third demand was the most difficult and heart-rending of the 3. He told her that she had to leave her 2 sons on the main crossing of Lahore in the care of Lord Krishna. He himself was sure that the one who brought them to the world would also take care of them. Since Ramtirtha's demands were dreadful and tragic, Parvati Devi started to cry. "How can I abandon these children and leave them unaided? Please don't make such an impossible test," she pleaded with Ramtirtha. Ramtirtha was harsh. "If you don't have total trust in God, then go to your mother's place," he said. Punjab is known as the land of the brave, and the women of Punjab are also courageous, brave, and able to sacrifice. Parvati Devi was no less. She left the children on the main crossing of Lahore and came to Ramtirtha weeping, having fulfilled all his demands. He told her she was now ready to travel on this path and left with her for Lahore train station. As Ramtirtha had already gained fame as a fine professor and an orator, many people came to the station to try to stop him. They told him they would make a very good ashram for him in Lahore, where he could meditate and that he had no reason to leave. Ramtirtha, however, had no doubt in his mind that he would find peace only on the banks of the Ganga in the Himalayas. Seeing his Vairagya, detachment from the world, and his absolute trust in the divine, some of his devotees decided to go with him. Just as the train left, someone pushed Ramtirtha's two children into the compartment where Ramtirtha's troop was seated. All were shocked to see them there. Parvati Devi hugged the children and started crying. "What shall I do next? Shall I push them from the running train?" she said in utter despair. "It wasn't you who brought them there. It was Lord Krishna himself who pushed them into this compartment. If he wished them to be with us, then he will take care of them. We need not worry," Ramtirtha told his wife. When hearing this, Parvati Devi cuddled her children, and finally the torment of her mind subsided. Ramtirtha arrived in Rishikesh with a small group of disciples. During their journey across the Ganga, when the ferry had reached the middle of the river, he said, "Those who walk with me have to be totally surrendered to existence. So throw all your possessions in the Ganga apart from the clothes you're wearing. Those who don't have the courage to do so can go back on the same ferry." His demand was straightforward, and the authority in his voice indicated that he was not going to compromise. Seeing that Ramtirtha was divinely possessed, some of them gathered enough courage to throw away their belongings, while the others thought the demand was too extreme and decided to return. Ramtirtha saw a little pouch hanging from his wife's sari and yelled, "What is this? I have thrown everything else, but I saved these 2 gold bangles in case you get sick," she answered. "You have more trust on the gold than on the God that has made your own body. He will take care of us. Don't try to be a hindrance in his plans by carrying these bangles." Saying this, he made her throw the bangles in the river. This way, being totally devoid of any possessions, and with all their trust on God, the little troop started walking up the hills towards a place called Teri. In Teri, Seth Muralidhar had created an ashram to serve yogis and sannyasins. Ramtirtha decided to rest there. It was already midday when they arrived, so the whole group was very hungry. Just then, Baba Ramnath, the manager of the Kali Kamliwala ashram of Rishikesh, which provided basic necessities to sannyasin in the area, arrived there by chance. When he heard the whole story of Professor Ramtirtha's troop, he asked him if he could take care of the basic needs of his whole group during their stay in Teri. This incident proved to the group what Swami Ramtirtha had been insisting upon the whole time, that God is compelled to help those who surrender totally to his will. While in Teri, the Maharaja of Teri Garhwal heard of Ramtirtha's repute and came to meet him. The Maharaja was an intelligent man, but due to the influence of the Western way of life, he had no belief whatever in Hinduism. He was a convinced atheist. The countless yogis who came to Uttarakhand and had met the Maharaja could not rouse the love of God in him. But most of his doubts vanished in his first meeting with Swami Ramtirtha. As he was hugely impressed by Swamiji, he asked him not to leave the state of Teri so that he could receive his satsang and guidance on a regular basis. Thanks to the time that Maharaja Kirti Shah spent in Swamiji's presence, a great love arose in him for the Hindu faith, and he became a strong supporter and promoter of Hinduism. Seeing the change in the king and the respect that he bestowed on Swami Ramtirtha, a big crowd of locals started to gather around Swamiji. Such a crowd is full of inquisitive folk, and real seekers among them are almost non-existent. It is a matter of great pain for saints and yogis to live among people with no spiritual thirst. Due to this, Ramtirtha left Teri and started living in a silent barren cave in the Himalayas. The nearest village to his cave was 3 kilometers away. A happy-go-lucky farmer discovered that a yogi had started living in the cave and would bring him a meal every day at noon. Ramtirtha felt that this arrangement was also due to Krishna's grace, and while eating his food and drinking Ganga Jal, water of the Ganga, he thanked Krishna countless times. Hearing this, the farmer's ego would get hurt, and one day he gathered enough courage and asked, "I bring you lunch every day exactly on time, but you have never thanked me. Why do you only thank Krishna and not me?" Ramtirtha answered, "Because I am sure this is his arrangement. Wherever I go, he never lets me sleep hungry and never lets things be uncomfortable for me." This statement hurt the farmer even more, and he said, "I have some important work to do, so I cannot bring your lunch tomorrow." While leaving the cave, he thought to himself, "Let's see who will feed him tomorrow." As he was leaving, Ramtirtha said, "You don't worry at all. The one who feeds an ant to an elephant will also feed Ram." Not believing a word, Ramtirtha said the farmer decided to see what would happen when nobody brought him lunch the next day. When it was time for lunch, the farmer hid behind a bush and kept vigil over the cave. To his surprise, he saw an old woman walking towards the cave with a clay pot in her hand. When she reached the cave, he heard her say, "Sadhu Baba, Sadhu Baba." When Ramtirtha came out hearing her, she added, "Our family bought a new cow, which gives a lot of milk. I felt that I should offer the first day's milk to a yogi. That's why I have brought this milk for you. If you could kindly accept this milk, I would be very grateful to you." Ramtirtha accepted and drank as much milk as he could. Some milk was still left in the pot, so the old woman asked him to keep it for later. Ramtirtha told her that it was his rule that he did not keep anything for the future. "Whatever Krishna wishes and whenever he wishes is what I'm satisfied with," he said. Hearing this, the old woman was filled with reverence for Ramtirtha. She said, "I will come with some food for you tomorrow as well. Please accept it." When the farmer heard this from behind a bush, he got extremely ashamed and came forth and prostrated in front of Ramtirtha and started to cry. "Dear Lord of the forest, please forgive me that I wanted to test you. I will not leave your feet unless you forgive me. I did not see your Krishna, but I am astonished to see his arrangement for you. Please bless me so that I also have unfaltering faith towards him, just as you do," pleaded the farmer. The farmer's ego melted, and he started to bring lunch to Swamiji with great devotion. He now regarded Ramtirtha as his guru and started taking spiritual counsel from him. He also changed his name to Ram Sevak, which means Ram's helper. There are many such instances that prove the mystic's total trust with the divine. Swami Ramtirtha was meditating in Gangotri one winter near the source of the Ganga. A few businessmen from Mumbai had come there on a pilgrimage. It was freezing cold, and when it started to become unbearable for the businessmen, who were not used to such harsh weather, they started screaming in panic, "Oh Lord, it seems that we will die here because of this cold." To make matters worse, it began snowing heavily, which drove the pilgrims into a frenzy, and their screams were now beyond control. Swami Ramtirtha was listening to all this from another room. When it was too much, he went to their room and shouted at them, "You think it's so easy to die in a holy place such as this? You need a lot of good karma to be able to die here. I've been trying to die on the bank of the Ganga for many years, and I haven't succeeded yet. You men just got here yesterday, and you think you're going to be successful at it?" This stunned the pilgrims, who finally regained their minds and kept quiet. The journey to America. It was due to Maharaja Kirti Shah's effort and inspiration that Swami Rama went to Japan and America to preach Vedanta. In Japan he met Puran Singh, who was to be his most loyal disciple. Puran Singh was a successful Shaikh businessman in Japan who claimed he saw a great spark of energy and light come out of his mouth when Ramtirtha spoke at a function. He felt that it was God himself who came in the form of Ramtirtha to give him darshan. The experience was so strong that he left his business and surrendered his whole life to Ramtirtha, serving him throughout his life. Swami Ramtirtha went to America alone by ship. When the ship docked on the Seattle harbor, all the passengers were in a hurry to get off, but Swami Ramtirtha was just watching the whole climber resting on a chair on the deck. Seeing his disinterest in getting off, an American man was a bit taken aback, and he asked Ramtirtha, "Where are you going?" Ramtirtha answered, "America." "Well, you seem to have arrived there. The ship will go now further. Pack your luggage and get ready to leave," said the man. Swamiji answered, "Am I an ass to walk around carrying luggage with me? Only animals carry luggage. This body is the only thing that I have to carry." Shocked at the reply, the man said, "If you don't have any bags, then where do you keep your money?" Ramtirtha answered, "It's been years since I have touched money. All my needs are taken care of by God." Hearing those strange words, the man said, "This country is run by dollars. Without dollars you will die hungry here. If you have the address of someone you know in Seattle, give it to me, and I will take you to him." Putting his hand on the man's shoulder, Swami Ramtirtha answered most naturally, "Oh yes, I know a very good-hearted American." The man looked expectantly at Ramtirtha. After smiling at him lovingly, Swamiji caressed his shoulder and said, "It is you." Swamiji's touch sent beautiful vibrations through the American's body, and he felt as though he had known Swamiji for a long time. The man's name was Dr. Albert Hiller. He cared for Ramtirtha with great respect and kept him as his guest for 1.5 years. During his stay in America, Swami Ramtirtha visited the Shasta Springs in Seattle. The beautiful sounds of the running water and the birds, as well as the silence of the forest and the mountains, reminded him of his favorite place, the Himalayas. He refused to return to the city and stayed there alone for months. On May 20, 1903, American President Theodore Roosevelt was on a tour of the Shasta Springs. When he heard that a Himalayan yogi had been living alone in the forest there for a month, he expressed his desire to see him. When they met, Roosevelt was impressed by Ramtirtha's intelligence and wisdom and said, "If you need anything, please let me know. I shall manage it for you." Swami Ram laughed at Roosevelt's words and said, "Ram is the emperor of this universe. It is because of my wish that the sun shines and the moon revolves around the earth. And it was I who made you president. I have no needs because all is taken care of by God. You need not worry about me at all." Roosevelt didn't understand these words of Ramtirtha that were coming out of the ultimate realization of Vedanta, but the words of this quirky yogi fascinated him nonetheless. Roosevelt said, "I want to spend more time with you, but my schedule is packed, so I must leave." Ramtirtha, with his usual wit, said, "I had thought that the most powerful man of the freest country in the world would be free, but it seems you have no freedom. If the most powerful man of the country can't stay where he wants to even for a few more minutes, then there is a problem with your system." During his stay in America, he was called to speak at a religious conference. He used to call himself Bacha, Emperor Ram, and called his talks the Decree of Ram. He had no qualms about calling himself the manifestation of God. Once he was asked, "How can you call yourself the Emperor when you own nothing but a set of clothes?" "Hey, desire, you are the lowest of the low. I was God himself, if in the middle you wouldn't show. Now my desires have evaporated and worries defeated. I say like a free bird, no less but emperor have I become, freed from all shackles of the world." And then he said, "I call myself Bacha because I don't desire anything." In another Christian conference he was asked, "Who made this universe and who runs it?" Ramtirtha answered, "I made this universe and I make the sun shine and the planets revolve around it." If he had made this purest expression of Vedanta in a gathering of fundamentalists, he would probably have been killed like Sarmat or Mansur, but a Christian just made him leave the conference, calling him a madman. Since Ramtirtha had immense love for the Ganga and the Himalayas, he couldn't stay away from there for long. He returned to Teri Garhwal to continue his meditation. His need for seclusion was so great that he sent his disciples away and started meditating alone in a hut on the bank of the Ganga. One morning he wrote his famous poem which says, "O death, what can you do to me? You cannot kill me. If you free me from this body, then I will be dissolved in each grain of sand on the bank of the Ganga, in each drop of the water of the Ganga, in each leaf of every tree here." The same afternoon he took child Samadhi, gave up his body in the water of the Ganga. That day was also of Deepavali. When I'm in the Uttarakhand area to conduct meditation camps, I feel the presence of many enlightened masters who have already left their bodies. If you remember the enlightened ones with love and reverence, you can feel their presence anywhere on earth. While I write this at Osho Upaban, Pokhara, Nepal, on the bank of the river Seti, I'm feeling an intense presence of Swami Ramtirtha. I have a feeling that he himself is inspiring me to write this. My 1,000 salutations to the son of the Himalayas and the Ganga, Bacharam, who was totally surrendered to God and whose love of God was the only purpose of his existence. So, this is all about Swami Ramtirtha. I wish you the best and I send you love and light. Namaste.